Airports are where common sense goes to die, usually right at the TSA checkpoint. Mem 1. The emotional support peacock. In 2018, a woman tried to board a United Airlines flight with her emotional support peacock. Yes, a full-sized, feathered 6-foot bird that screams like a car alarm and poops like a paintball gun. She insisted it helped with anxiety. TSA disagreed, mostly because it couldn't fit through the X-ray machine without starting a Hitchcock sequel. When told the bird couldn't fly, she reportedly said, "Neither can I without him." Somewhere in that airport, a poor gate agent had to explain to a peacock that it wasn't cleared for takeoff. Number 2. The grenade paperweight. Some gifts just shouldn't travel. A man in Orlando once brought a realistic-looking hand grenade as a souvenir. He said it was just a paperweight. TSA didn't laugh. They evacuated the entire terminal and called the bomb squad, who discovered it was indeed inert but terrifyingly convincing. The man missed his flight, but on the bright side, he now holds the record for most people delayed by bad decor choices. 3. The chainsaw. A passenger in New Orleans tried to bring a gas-powered chainsaw in his carry-on. His argument? It's empty. No fuel. As if TSA would see that and go, "Oh, my bad, sir. Please stow your tree-slicing death machine in the overhead bin." Agents confiscated it, of course, which really made you wonder, what emergency did he think might pop up at 35,000 feet that required lumberjack intervention? 4. The full Thanksgiving dinner. Security once stopped a woman carrying a full Thanksgiving meal, complete with a turkey, mashed potatoes, and gravy in a plastic tub. When told liquids weren't allowed, she argued that gravy was basically a gel. TSA disagreed, probably because they were still cleaning stuffing off the conveyor belt. The bird made it to the bin, but the gravy never stood a chance. 5. The snake in the carry-on forget. Snakes on a plane. A traveler in Miami tried to actually recreate it. He hid a live python inside his external hard drive. TSA scanners picked up something slithering, and out came the plot twist nobody asked for. His excuse? "It's my pet." TSA's response? Not anymore. The snake was handed over to wildlife authorities, proving once again that reptile smuggling and commercial air travel don't mix, unless you're filming a bad sequel. 6. The samurai sword. Because apparently airport security and ancient Japanese warfare go hand in hand. A man in Los Angeles tried to bring a full samurai sword through the checkpoint for cosplay. TSA agents, somehow keeping a straight face, reminded him this wasn't Comic-Con. He said it was only for display, which sounds great until you remember that TSA's entire job is stopping people with display weapons. 7. The 50-pound wheel of cheese. In Wisconsin, of course, TSA found a man carrying a 50-pound wheel of cheddar. No drugs, no explosives, just an alarming amount of dairy. When asked why, he said, "I don't trust checked baggage." The scanner flagged it because it was too dense to see through, which, ironically, is also how we describe the man's decision-making. 8. The bag of live fish. A passenger in Seattle tried to bring a gallon Ziploc bag filled with live goldfish through security. When agents told him it violated the liquid rule, he claimed, "It's not liquid, it's their home." To be fair, it's hard to argue with that level of optimism. The fish were spared the pat-down but grounded permanently. TSA later confirmed that while water can't fly, stupidity somehow always makes it to the gate on time. 9. The cannonball incident. Some people pack extra socks. One man in Fort Lauderdale packed a Civil War cannonball. He said it was just a souvenir, which technically it was, except it still contained live gunpowder. TSA didn't even bother asking questions. They evacuated half the terminal. Bomb squad came in like a history reenactment gone wrong. The man's explanation? It's 150 years old. What's the worst that could happen? Sir, that's exactly how the Civil War started. 10. The jar of peanut butter explosives. TSA agents once confiscated a peanut butter jar that tested positive for explosives. Turns out, the passenger was making his own protein snacks using homemade energy powder, which, chemically speaking, was close enough to C4 to freak out the scanner. When agents asked what it was, he cheerfully said, "My pre-workout." The lab results said, "Sir, you've invented a bomb smoothie." 11. The skeleton in the suitcase. Security in Atlanta stopped a man whose luggage contained an actual human skeleton. He swore it wasn't suspicious, It was a medical model for his chiropractor training. The only problem? It had a gold tooth and no serial markings. Forensics confirmed it was, indeed, a real human skeleton. The passenger said, "Well, that explains why it was so expensive on eBay." The TSA's official statement called it unusual but not a threat, which coincidentally is also how they describe most passengers. 12. The burrito of doom. A passenger in California tried to sneak a massive foil-wrapped burrito through security. Routine scan. Nothing weird. But then, TSA spotted something odd inside. Wires. Turns out, he'd hidden fireworks in the burrito to celebrate landing. Nothing says Happy Independence Day like detonating your lunch at 30,000 feet. The agents were not amused. The burrito was destroyed. Somewhere, a Chipotle employee felt a disturbance in the force. 13. The buzzing suitcase security in Newark intercepted a suitcase making a low buzzing sound. Everyone braced for a possible explosive, only to discover a beehive. A literal, living beehive. The passenger said he was a bee relocation specialist and couldn't leave his girls behind. TSA said they respected his work but not his carry-on choices. The hive was safely transferred to local beekeepers, proving that love may be sweet, but honey still sets off the alarm. 14. The sword cane surprise. A woman in Dallas tried to bring what looked like a classy old walking cane through security. The X-ray showed a full sword blade hidden inside. When asked, she said, "Oh, I forgot that was in there." Forgot? That's not a breath mint, that's concealed weaponry. TSA confiscated it and she missed her flight, which honestly sounds fair. If you accidentally bring medieval weaponry to the airport, maybe you need a minute to reflect. 15. The frozen chicken full of cocaine. It's one thing to smuggle drugs. It's another to stuff them inside a frozen chicken. TSA officers in Miami discovered a poultry product with suspiciously even stuffing. After a quick scan, they found multiple bags of cocaine sealed inside like the world's worst holiday roast. The smuggler claimed it was seasoning, which technically it was, just the kind that seasons your prison sentence. 16. The live lobster. At Boston Logan, TSA discovered a man traveling with a 15-pound live lobster neatly packed in a cooler. Surprisingly, it wasn't illegal. TSA actually allows live lobsters in checked baggage if properly contained. The issue? He tried to bring it as a carry-on. He proudly lifted the giant crustacean out of its ice bed and declared, "He's emotional support." Agents didn't disagree. They were too busy trying to stop other passengers from filming the first known lobster pat-down in aviation history. 17. The fully loaded Taco Bell bag security in Denver stopped a man carrying a greasy paper bag that he refused to send through the X-ray. "It's sacred," he said. Suspicious, they made him open it. Inside were 24 tacos stuffed with cash. He was literally smuggling money inside fast food. When asked why, he said, "Nobody checks tacos." TSA. "We do now." The tacos were destroyed, the man detained, and the entire terminal smelled like corruption and sour cream. 18. The urn mix-up. A passenger in Phoenix tried to carry his grandmother's ashes in a ceramic urn shaped like a pineapple. When TSA scanned it, they thought it looked like a disguised grenade and treated it as a live threat. After a brief evacuation and a bomb squad visit, they realized it was an actual cremation urn. The man tearfully explained, "She loved Hawaii." The officer paused, then said, "She sure did cause a luau in security." Grandma finally got the attention she always wanted, just not the kind anyone hoped for. 19. The bag of eels. In Miami, TSA found a duffel bag writhing like something out of a horror movie. Inside, a dozen live eels, packed in water bags and duct tape. The passenger claimed they were for sushi research. TSA's response was a polite but firm no. The eels were confiscated and handed to wildlife authorities, who described them as confused but thriving. The traveler was less thriving, mostly because his suitcase smelled like low tide and regret. 20. The chainsaw cake. At a checkpoint in Seattle, a woman brought what looked like a birthday cake shaped like a chainsaw. Cute, right? Until the X-ray revealed a real metal blade baked inside for realism. When asked why, she said it was a surprise for her husband, who's a lumberjack. TSA reminded her that surprises involving sharp objects are generally discouraged in aviation. The cake was destroyed, and her husband presumably celebrated with a safer dessert, like a cupcake. 21. The hand grenade cologne bottle. Only at an airport could someone try to smell good and cause an evacuation. A man in Newark carried a cologne bottle shaped like a hand grenade. It triggered every alarm in the scanner. Bomb squad arrived, flights delayed, panic everywhere, all because some designer thought Explosive by Dior was a clever name. The passenger defended himself by saying, "It's fragrance, not firepower." TSA's reply, "Not anymore." 22. The mummified monkey head. At Chicago O'Hare, customs agents opened a passenger's bag and found something straight out of a museum, a mummified monkey head. The traveler said he was a collector of oddities and didn't realize it counted as a biological specimen. TSA disagreed, mostly because it was leaking dust like a cursed artifact. The head was confiscated, and the man was told to apply for an import permit next time, because apparently that's the paperwork you need when your carry-on includes Indiana Jones's worst nightmare. 23. The bowling ball filled with whiskey. A traveler in Las Vegas tried to sneak alcohol past security in the most Vegas way possible, by hollowing out a bowling ball and filling it with whiskey. The X-ray showed a suspicious liquid core, and when TSA drilled into it, outpoured a perfect stream of Jack Daniels. The man proudly said, "See? Strike!" Agents disagreed, ruling it a foul. On the bright side, it proved Americans will literally drink through solid objects to save on minibar prices. 24. The puppet full of pills. At LAX, a ventriloquist was stopped when officers discovered bags of prescription pills sewn into his puppet's torso. The man claimed the puppet didn't like to fly alone and needed his medication. TSA didn't buy it, mostly because the puppet looked like it was in better health than its owner. They confiscated the stash, leaving one poor wooden dummy behind to contemplate the world's first arrest for dummy-assisted drug smuggling. 25. The bagpipe fiasco. In Newark, a passenger caused chaos when TSA scanners picked up something that looked like a bundle of pipes and wires. Basically, every bomb tech's worst nightmare. Turns out, it was a set of bagpipes. The musician explained that they were fragile, which is why he didn't check them. Agents asked him to play a note to prove it wasn't dangerous. He did, and cleared the entire line faster than any emergency alarm ever could. 26. The suitcase of cash. Wrapped in bacon, TSA in Dallas once found a full suitcase of cash wrapped in raw bacon. The traveler said it was to throw off the dogs. Spoiler, it didn't. The canines were ecstatic, the money was seized, and the man earned himself both a criminal investigation and a lifetime ban from every breakfast buffet within 100 miles. Somewhere, a TSA agent went home that night smelling like pork and poor decisions. 27. The mannequin girlfriend. At JFK, officers opened a suitcase and found a full-size female mannequin dressed in lingerie and duct-taped into a seated position. The traveler said it was his travel companion, named Brenda, and insisted she was a great listener. TSA agreed to screen her separately, but noted in their report that Brenda did not make eye contact. The man missed his flight but gained a lifetime story and a new spot on the do not date list. 28. The chainsaw cat toy security in Portland found a mechanical cat toy designed to move its tail and meow. Adorable, right? Until they realized the tail mechanism used a miniature chainsaw motor. When powered up, it buzzed like a miniature horror movie prop. The owner insisted it was just for realism. TSA confiscated it, noting that realism shouldn't require a motor labeled industrial grade. Somewhere in Oregon, one very confused cat is still waiting for its Terminator tail. 29. The bag of leeches. At Minneapolis-St. Paul, TSA intercepted a man carrying a large Ziploc bag of live leeches. He calmly explained they were for medical research. The agents didn't even blink. Apparently, this wasn't their first leech rodeo. The problem was, the man didn't pack them properly, and several had already escaped, creating what the official report called a fluid-based pursuit. They shut down the checkpoint to mop up the world's slimiest science experiment. 30. The full-sized chainsaw bear statue. And just when you think it can't get weirder, in Alaska, a man tried to board a plane with a chainsaw-carved wooden bear nearly 6 feet tall. He said it was a gift for Grandma. The bear was too big for carry-on, obviously, but the man insisted it had emotional value. TSA told him it could only fly in cargo. He refused, saying he gets anxious down there. The bear didn't fly, but the photo of the argument went viral. Grandma probably just got a postcard instead. That brings us to fact number 30, and we've still got 18 more to go. The next batch, 31 to 38, covers mystery liquids, haunted luggage, edible contraband, and a man who tried to board with something that technically qualified as a medieval torture device. 31. The jar of mystery meat. In Houston, TSA agents confiscated a mason jar filled with unidentified meat chunks floating in cloudy liquid. The passenger claimed it was Grandma's soup base. When asked what kind of meat, he paused for a full 10 seconds before answering, "Probably pork." The agents weren't convinced. The jar was sent for lab testing and came back inconclusive. The man seemed relieved, muttering, "Then it worked." Nobody's sure what it was, but the phrase "Grandma's secret recipe" hasn't sounded the same since. 32. The set of throwing stars. At LAX, TSA stopped a man with 3 ninja throwing stars tucked into his laptop bag. He said they were for protection. Protection from what, exactly? A mid-flight shuriken duel? The irony is, they were so dull, they couldn't even cut paper. TSA confiscated them, of course, but not before one agent admitted, "This is the most exciting thing that's happened all week." The man missed his flight and his fantasy of saving the cabin from imaginary ninjas. 33. The bag of human teeth. Atlanta security discovered a Ziploc bag full of human teeth. When asked to explain, the traveler said he was a dentist collecting specimens. TSA checked his credentials. He wasn't a dentist, just a guy with a very unfortunate hobby. The agents confiscated the teeth, issued a fine, and probably added tooth fairy trafficking to their personal nightmares. Somewhere, a forensic lab still has those molars on file, wondering who thought a mouthful of evidence made for a great souvenir. 34. The inflatable doll incident. In Phoenix, TSA agents pulled aside a suitcase after the scanner revealed a human-shaped outline. Panic mode. Officers surrounded the bag, expecting a crisis. When they opened it, out popped a life-sized inflatable doll, complete with accessories. The traveler, completely unfazed, said, "That's my girlfriend. Deflate her gently." TSA complied, mostly out of confusion and pity. The report simply said, "Item deflated. Passenger embarrassed. Agents traumatized." 35. The homemade flamethrower. Because nothing says "safe traveler" like a DIY flamethrower made from a lighter, aerosol can, and metal tubing. TSA at Denver caught a man with this tool in his carry-on. He called it his camp stove. Agents pointed out that camp stoves usually don't shoot fire 6 feet in a straight line. The man protested, saying he built it from a YouTube tutorial. The agents agreed. It had YouTube decision-making written all over it. The flamethrower was confiscated, and the man was added to a watch list that probably reads, "Too creative for everyone's safety." 36. The exploding shampoo bottles. In Detroit, TSA stopped a woman whose bag was leaking what looked like soap. Turns out her shampoo bottles were filled with vodka. She'd labeled them herbal essence, but forgot alcohol expands under pressure. The bottles detonated mid-X-ray, coating the machine in a fine mist of pure hangover. The woman tried to claim it was just her hair product, but the entire checkpoint smelled like a Russian nightclub. TSA let her go, but probably with shinier, more hydrated hair than anyone else on the flight. 37. The stuffed animal drug mule. A family traveling through Dallas seemed innocent enough until their child's oversized teddy bear went through the scanner and revealed a very non-cuddly surprise. Inside, a brick of marijuana. The parents immediately blamed a misunderstanding. TSA disagreed, mainly because the bear had been professionally stitched back together with the precision of a cartel surgeon. The family missed their flight, the teddy got confiscated, and somewhere a child's bedtime forever changed from "Good night, bear" to "Free Smokey." 38. The cursed suitcase security in New Orleans opened a bag that was literally oozing red liquid. Inside, a collection of voodoo dolls, candles, bones, and a goat skull. The passenger explained it was for a healing ritual. TSA called the bomb squad, who confirmed it was just unsettling. One agent reported the skull smelled like barbecue and despair. After clearance, the traveler repacked calmly and said, The spirits are pleased. The terminal was not. That checkpoint has reportedly had power flickers ever since. 39. The sandwich of suspicion. At Chicago O'Hare, a man tried to bring a foot-long sub-sandwich wrapped tightly in foil. The scanner flagged it as metallic. When agents unwrapped it, they found a knife baked into the bread. The man swore he didn't know. TSA suspected he was trying to cut lunch costs, literally. The knife was confiscated and the sub was kept for inspection. Translation: someone in security ate very well that day. 40. The frozen tarantula. At Los Angeles International, agents found a frozen tarantula vacuum-sealed in a food bag. The passenger said it was a delicacy and planned to deep fry it upon arrival. TSA politely reminded him that creepy crawlies, dead or alive, are subject to extra screening. The spider, described as mostly deceased, was confiscated. The agent's incident report ended with the immortal line, "Passenger showed no visible remorse." Somewhere, an entomologist wept, and an airport janitor added "arachnid disposal" to his resume. 41. The emotional support clown doll. A woman in Orlando tried to board with a 2-foot-tall porcelain clown doll, claiming it was her emotional support companion. TSA allowed it through until it started laughing on its own in the inspection tray. Turns out it was motion-activated. The sound echoed through the terminal like a demon in a daycare. Agents asked her to disable it. She said, "He doesn't like being told what to do." The doll was cleared, but reportedly stored in the overhead bin, facing the passengers like a tiny airborne horror film. 42. The deep fryer full of grease. At Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, TSA discovered a man hauling a full countertop deep fryer filled with oil. He said he was taking it to his cousin's cookout. The fryer was plugged in, still warm, and dripping grease onto the conveyor belt. When told he couldn't bring it, he argued, "It's my carry-on meal prep." TSA pointed out that boiling oil at altitude wasn't ideal. The fryer was confiscated, and the man reportedly muttered, "Guess we're eating cold fries." Somewhere in baggage claim, the scent of shame lingered for days. 43. The taxidermy fashion show. In Salt Lake City, agents opened a suspiciously heavy suitcase and found what can only be described as a woodland runway. 7 taxidermy squirrels, each dressed in tiny outfits. One wore a tuxedo, one had a leather biker jacket, another had a full marching band uniform complete with a toy trumpet glued to its paws. The traveler, a self-proclaimed miniature costumer, said they were props for an art show titled Nuts About Couture. TSA's concern wasn't the fashion. It was the biological material and questionable preservation fluids sloshing in unmarked bottles beneath the foam. The agent's report read, "Animals appeared deceased, extremely dapper, and improperly declared." The artist argued the liquids were vintage shellac. The beaver tail-sized label that said industrial solvent begged to differ. The squirrels were held for agricultural inspection, and the line moved on, slightly traumatized, but undeniably impressed by the stitching. 44. The human foot in a box. Atlanta again. A small cooler with ice packs, labeled specimen, fragile. That phrasing is usually fine, until X-ray reveals a very unmistakable silhouette. A human foot. Cue every manager within a 200-yard radius. The traveler, a medical student, produced emails suggesting it was a legal donor specimen en route to a pathology workshop. The problem? No chain of custody paperwork, and the cooler had been topped off with grocery store ice and exactly 0 biohazard labeling. While supervisors phoned every hospital within 3 zip codes, the student tried to lighten the mood with a footloose joke that did not land. Eventually, the specimen was transferred to authorities for verification. TSA's takeaway: you can fly with medical items if you bring actual documentation and don't mix them with leftover picnic supplies. The foot didn't make the connection. The pun did, unfortunately, for everyone who heard it. 45. The romance fog machine proposal plans meet federal screening. In Vegas, a man rolled up with a compact theatrical fog machine and a gallon of glycerin mix to stage a mid-gate engagement with a moody haze. TSA agents gently explained that devices designed to fill rooms with vapor are a hard no, especially when attached to a jug of mystery fluid that looks like something from a 1980s chemistry set. He argued it wasn't dangerous, it's just ambiance, then offered to do a tiny demo. They declined, on account of airports having roofs, sprinklers, smoke detectors, and thousands of humans who don't want to reenact a Bon Jovi concert at 10 a.m. The would-be fiancé pivoted, borrowed a ukulele from a stranger, and proposed without the fog. She said yes anyway, proving love doesn't need special effects, just fewer reasons for the bomb squad to put their coffee down. 46. The shoebox drone swarm. In Phoenix, officers flagged a shoebox that looked like an electrical storm on the monitor. 5 micro-drones, each with taped-on lithium cells, a nest of wires, and a tangle of propellers. The passenger's plan? A synchronized light show for my niece when we land. TSA's response? That's adorable, and also a fire hazard with extra spinning blades. Lithium batteries must be packed safely. Improvised wiring harnesses from a DIY subreddit don't count. The Traveler produced a YouTube playlist titled Totally Legal Drone Formations, which was, shockingly, not accepted as regulatory guidance. A hazardous materials specialist spent 20 minutes untangling the world's angriest wind chimes, while the line watched like it was the Super Bowl. The drones were denied boarding. The uncle promised to celebrate with something safer, like a kazoo. Everyone applauded that choice. 47. The birthday fireworks centerpiece. At Newark, a woman checked in a beautifully wrapped table centerpiece for her dad's surprise party. The X-ray showed cylinders, fuses, and powders packed like a festive pipe organ. Inside, live fireworks, hot glued into a floral arrangement. She swore they were just for show, which is technically true, right until someone lights a candle. Agents explained that explosive bouquets and pressurized cabins are not a meet-cute. She tried the "but they're legal in my state" defense. TSA countered with, "This is an airplane." The centerpiece was surrendered to local authorities, and the party settled for a Costco cake and sparklers on the ground, where celebration belongs. Dad still cried happy tears, which is the only kind of ignition TSA encourages. 48. The 6-foot industrial magnet grand finale time. In Dallas, a man wheeled up a padded crate labeled art sculpture. Handle carefully. The scanner pinged like a slot machine. Inside, a 6-foot neodymium magnet column strong enough to yoink a crescent wrench from across the room. He planned to document how it interacts with airplane metal for a performance piece, which is the most poetic way to describe stripping a gate area of keys, belt buckles, and someone's dental bridge at Mach 0.02. When officers cracked the crate, nearby bins inched toward it like they were haunted, and a tool cart gave up and gently kissed the box. The Traveler proudly said, "See? It's working." Security, clutching their radios and their badges, replied, "Exactly." The magnet was refused, the crate resealed with heroic layers of tape, and the gate agents got a story that will outlive all of us. Peacock who? Which carry-on deserves a lifetime ban? Cast your vote in the comments.